Rapid transformational therapy it uses hypnotherapy as a basis to access that part of the mind. And it's like learning to walk again, really, and discovering who we are in the world and how it feels and how the environment feels and is it safe. And it's chicken and egg, like not one thing comes first. As we know with yoga, it's union, isn't it? It's just kind of giving ourselves a break and giving other people a break. It's not that you can't do it, it's just that your body isn't wired to do it yet. If you've got a very logical mind, it wants to concentrate on something and it wants you to tell it what to do.
For the future generation, we are going to do a big deal of favor.
I have traveled to more than 20 countries across 4 continents in the world.
Hello everybody, welcome to SWOW series, the strongest women of the world, a global talk show where we celebrate strength and achievements of every woman out there. And women are achieving extraordinary feats in the world right now. And anything they wish to pursue, they're able to pursue and achieve something huge. It is time to bring such inspirational stories out in the world so that many more women and the current generation will choose to find their strength and achieve whatever they wish. Simply put, this show is going to bring the best women in the world to inspire the rest of the women in the world. I mean, bear in mind, this entire show is heart to heart, absolutely not scripted. And today's guest is from United Kingdom, a rapid transformational therapist certified under world-renowned Marissa. She was an accountant, but she decided to follow her heart and passion, and she identified her purpose. She is also a firewalk certified instructor, Kundalini yoga instructor, and kinesiologist. She turned a most painful event from her past as motivation for building the future, not just for herself, but for everybody else too. She projects your limiting beliefs in you to push your boundaries of what you believe is possible for yourself. She is a proud mother of 2 daughters who are her motivation to empower every woman out there. Help me to welcome Sarah Yates. Hi Sarah, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you, Rajesh.
Sarah, thank you so much for being part of this show. And, I just wanted to ask this question. What made you to think, to coming from such an established career as an accountant to actually getting into, helping so many people out there, even the thought process, from where you have got this thought process?
I think sometimes life takes charge of you and shows you different things, and sometimes they can be really painful events and sometimes they can be awe-inspiring, amazing events. And I think I've always had a capacity to just think, okay, one step today, what brings me joy? How can I sleep tonight? What can I do that's going to bring me peace and ease? And it's funny, isn't it, when you look back and you think, well, like where you are in life, and when you look back, and that's a great question, because it's like, how did I get here? And I think there always has to be a faith in some divine guidance, and it helps us get out of our own ego and mind and control of things. Although obviously that's a big part of life too.
But generally it is a kind of scary thing, right? When you're really moving, making such a huge shift from, being an accountant into getting into hypnotherapy and all that. There will be a lot of resistance, one from your own existing beliefs, two also from all your loved ones. How did you manage to really, overcome the whole threshold?
Well, I think my friends were just there was a friend years ago called me Pixie, and it is a little bit faith, trust and pixie dust. And actually to recognize my own determination and commitment to that growth, and to always strive towards it like a point. And it's taken me a long time to honour and respect that part of myself. Actually, I've always for a long time, I kind of hid it behind a helpless, floaty, fluffy, like kind of persona. And growing up, I think personal development, I think therapy, I think living, taking life on, makes us grow up eventually, no matter how much we kick and scream and resist it. And it takes courage, and it takes esteem, and it takes patience, because actually we all have an innate need to belong. And one of the most influencing things is the people around us that we love and that we seek approval from. And there's so much unconscious information that's being processed by us all of the time, and then consciously being kind to ourselves and practicing it. So it's an ebb and flow, it's a dance, it's a bit like one step forward, two steps back, a little bit more, because we have to adjust and metabolize new information around how other people are perceiving us, how we're perceiving other people, how we're perceiving ourselves. It's like learning to walk again, really, and discovering who we are in the world and how it feels and how the environment feels and is it safe. And again, that's all going on consciously. So do I know what's carried me here? I would put it down to divine guidance and some kind of mystical purpose, and part of my own personality and determination, not giving up kind of approach.
Wow. I mean, that kind of gives me a little bit of goosebumps, right? So, I mean, let me ask you this. Probably this is a question not just from me, but many people were able to relate to it. Now, when you say this, I can clearly see, the spiritual side of you is actually kind of expressing through you. Let me ask, right? When is the time for you to really kind of think, yeah, I have to trust what is coming to me, and then I have to follow this? Where did you get that connect into the spirituality? Were you spiritual right from the childhood, or you just kind of felt it right?
No, not spiritual from childhood at all. Or certainly not culturally or within my family or my education. So it has taken a lot of integration of that concept and to be accepted within myself. What I do with RTT is we live in a state of hypnosis. People think it's like some special thing, and it is a different brainwave state that you go into therapeutically to access the information. And we live there. We live in a state of hypnosis because our subconscious mind is infinitely more powerful than our conscious mind. And we're completely hypnotizing ourselves all the time by our own language, by our own internal narrative. And I saw a post today actually that made me giggle, because it said, would you date your inner voice? And I giggled so much because and then I wrote, are you dating your inner voice? Energetically and that kind of stuff, to play with it. But we are what we think. Like, we're hypnotized by that inner narrative, and we learn it along the way. So it's such an interesting, so to integrate those spiritual concepts, to first read them and hear them and know that it was truth, but also it wasn't a part of who I had grown up to be, and that fracture. So like you say, learning to be her with the people that knew me or wanted me to be a certain way to fit into their model of the world. And I've shrunk back many times, shrunk back into the old mold, and then that becomes too painful because it's not really who I am in my heart. So then there's like another surge forwards, and then that gets a bit scary. So it's like, I'm gonna sit here for 5 minutes or 5 days or 5 months. And there's patience and tolerance between all of those stretches and integrate it. But even looking at how spirituality is taught around the world through different religions, through different cultures, and that there's still so much fear and control in certain stories and metaphors and mythical things, and still navigating the way through those. So yeah, so I'm still learning to find that voice. So even being here today and using that language is me stretching myself, is me being more of that inner world where I live inside and expressing it outwards.
I love you being so humble, more than a decade, and you're still kind of like a student, the enthusiasm of a student, right? So
there is a really humbling and I think grounding realization in that the more I learn, or the more I attempt to learn, the less I realize I know, and almost feeling like impatient. Like, oh my God, like yoga, for example. I mean, that's lifetimes of knowledge, isn't it? And I'm like, oh no, I want to know, understand, I want it in my cells. And I'm reading a book at the moment about the heart, healing the mind with the heart. So other way round, we tend to be so in our heads, don't we? So cognitive. And it's chicken and egg, like not one thing comes first. As we know with yoga, it's union, isn't it? It's what, you get into bigger, like how did the planet come to be? Like what came first? So it is that perpetual conversation. So no, I'm on my own journey, and all I can do is share and help, I guess. You only need to be one step ahead, don't you, to help somebody? And not even one step ahead, maybe one step to the side, because they've got a whole wealth of knowledge, and then you join the two together, and it's the sum of parts. I love the symbology and the metaphor that 1 + 1 isn't 2, it's 11.
Yeah, absolutely.
And side by side, and there's union in that, and then there's a path, and there's a togetherness in it. So
I see that. You know, now that you really believe in this kind of a process where you're able to help, how does this hypnotherapy especially helps people to come out of their limiting beliefs? How do you help them?
Rapid transformational therapy uses hypnotherapy as a basis to access that part of the mind. And the way I experience it and perceive it is it's giving somebody an experience of their inner world and of the truth of who they are and how they've created the programming, and that they are in charge. Because so many people have dysfunctional ways to try and find control. And I think, my gosh, a worldwide pandemic has shown every single person on this planet that we have no control, really, do we? Who saw that coming? I mean, and we're also innately powerful because we're so adaptable. Look at how we communicate. Like, we'll find a way, won't we, to make it, to reach people, to connect with people. And so when you use hypnosis and you realize that you have different brainwave states, you can access different information within yourself. And I think it's like going into your own matrix, and then you get to choose how you want to redirect that wiring, that software, that conditioning, social conditioning, cultural conditioning, personal, egoic, our own ego. I mean, I can do that. Yes, but should you? Is it good for you? Is it good for everyone? But to me, it's all amusing then. It's like, we can change anything if we want to. And then it fascinates me even more, personally myself, in that I can learn all this stuff and I can still not do the thing I know is going to make me feel better because I'm feeling quite indulgent in my misery, for example, or there's a voice in my head that just goes, meh, tomorrow, I can't be bothered today. and just the dichotomy of that we can be and do anything, and we don't. So why don't we when we can? So it amuses me and fascinates me and keeps me interested, keeps me learning.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, this is true actually. I think this pandemic has made us to realize that we have no damn control over anything beyond our own, body. And anyways, if virus enters, you don't even have the, control over your own body. And if at all, let us assume that there is no pandemic at all, but still people were still scared of getting into hypnotherapy or kind of, process where they're a little bit uncertain about, right? So, I mean, and life is uncertain, whether we like it or not, we don't know when we die. So what is the suggestion? And people generally who are scared of, it's not just about the hypnotherapy. I'm telling in general, people don't take risks just because they're kind of scared of the uncertainty. So what do you how do you approach such people when they come to you?
It's completely understandable. We're animals. I mean, and we like to think we've evolved, and we have to a certain degree. There's a book I've started reading. I'm not very far into it. I like reading lots of books at the same time, and then I like kind of my mind to like filter, and I'm like, oh, that relates to that, and I'm like, ooh. And she talks about how we evolved from these funny little worm things that just floated around and took whatever food came to them. And at the beginning, the first sentence in the book, so I know I'm going to enjoy it, she said, this was before creatures had brains, and she said, this isn't a political statement. It's a biological one. And I thought that was really funny. We all have so we're instinctive creatures. And I think I missed a lot of that through a lot of personal development, and accepting it means you can't therapy away your innate need to survive, your innate need to feel safe. And that relationship to control is the things that we've learned to feel safe in the world. So within our cultures, within our families, within our own internal framework, and the nervous system likes what it knows, it likes what's familiar. And it rejects what is unfamiliar. And it trusts, that baby trusts that the environment is what it has to adapt to, and it does. And so that becomes normal internally to the nervous system. So, and that's where you can get a fracture then between the conscious. You could watch an inspiring YouTube video and go, wow, that's amazing. I can do that. And you do it for 3 days and then you forget about it and go back to it 6 months later and think, oh, I wonder what happened. Because it was unfamiliar, and the nervous system will just reject it, wipe it out. And like you say, adjusting to your family and the people around you and the people that you love, it's hard for them. They don't want you to change, because then it makes them feel uncomfortable and it feels unfamiliar. And unfamiliar to the nervous system feels like death. And look at us all, we're all terrified of death, aren't we? A mystery illness comes on the planet, and really we've seen the stresses of everyone really responding to a fear of death. And you talked about uncertainty. Actually, death is certain. We will die. So what am I going to do before that? I don't know when it's going to happen. So what am I going to do before that happens as best as I can? And how am I going to live? And it's accept the inevitable almost. Don't be so consumed by fearing it, because then you're going to suffer. You're suffering every day of your life. Like, your life is today. So how are you going to have the best day? Because your life is made up by all of those, the sum of those days, the sum of those moments. And that was it. When you look back, you're going to go, oh, well, that happened then. I've got 3 minutes. I've got 3 minutes to go. Like, okay, that was it. Okay. And I make it smaller. Like, if today was my last day, did I enjoy it? Did I tell all the people I love that I love them? Did I show up and be my best self? And completely accepting that with it, that doesn't mean I'm happy and cheerful and gorgeous every day. Sometimes I'm as miserable as sin, and I'm a pain in my own, and I'm like, I can be stuck in that victim mindset again, and the critical mind, and thinking nothing I did was good enough, or did I do something wrong, and second guessing myself. But there's basics, isn't there? Like those yogic principles, those practices of who am I today, whereas I still strive to show up and be a decent human being, even when I'm owning my own stuff. I'm not making it somebody else's fault or blaming anyone, or I'm in my stuff, and I can own when I'm in my stuff, and I'm like, I'm in my stuff today. Tomorrow's a new day, wake up and start again. But just having those measures, but understanding we're all repeating patterns. To see patterns of chemicals in our bodies, and emotional things, and patterns of behaviour, and patterns of how we've learned to stay safe in the world, and all of those things. And I think accepting that, for me, has made me accept other people so much more easily, not take things so personally. Because all anyone's doing really is finding a way to be loved. And maybe they learnt some really weird ways of feeling loved. And it's not love I think love is a word that's been misused and manipulated a lot. Maybe get attention is a better way of because again, we need to live in the tribe, don't we? We need to be accepted. So the love thing is an interesting dialogue. I could talk about that all day as well. So But it's what we think love is. It's programmed in, and then we just perpetuate it unless we do something like this, unless we change up the energy in our body. We're changing a pattern, aren't we? We change the language we speak. We change how we breathe, or we change how we move. It's all slightly changing the pattern of who we've learned to be. So yeah, it's familiar and unfamiliar. So kind of if you give yourself a day off from your critical mind, it's just like, oh, okay, I'm running that program again, or I put that hat on today, or oh, she turned up again. Oh, what does she need?
Yeah, this is really important to be conscious of where or which specific pattern of your old pattern is coming, especially when somebody is changing, is really critical.
And that takes practice too. That takes learning that you can be aware. It takes learning how to be aware. It takes calming those thoughts or not. One of the really fascinating things I learned was when I was reading about developmental trauma, which is emotional trauma. People get a bit edgy when you say trauma. But it is literally just like how the brain wires when we're small and things. And we get interrupted a lot as children. Don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. And people then as adults think, okay, I want to manage my stress levels. I'm going to learn to meditate. And so they try a particular type of meditation, and within about half a nanosecond, their mind's wandered off and they're fidgeting and they can't do it. And maybe they try it for a few days, and people will say, oh, I tried that, doesn't work, I can't do it. So actually understand that you're not wired to be able to do it when you were small, and to sit and be still, you've just triggered an unfamiliar response. It feels unfamiliar, so your nervous system is interpreting it as danger. So you see like these Zen people just so calm, and it doesn't make sense, does it? Common sense wouldn't say that's danger. But to somebody that's used to being busy and moving around, and they've got this adrenaline and cortisol in their body, the unfamiliar is danger. So to sit down and be still, it's like the whole body's going, no, 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 look for the danger, look for the danger. So, but then psychologically, they're like, I failed, I can't even do that. And then they're making themselves wrong again. So they're making themselves feel worse. So they're increasing the stress. And so it's like a perpetuating problem. So I think understanding that we can calm the mind, and we can tell it that the unfamiliar is okay, it's going to be safe, and okay, then we can help people find ways to manage that stress. So understanding, there's so much to understand, there's so much to learn, but just kind of giving ourselves a break and giving other people a break. It's not that you can't do it, it's just that your body isn't wired to do it yet, and you can learn how to.
And I can relate to this, because I was that busy guy. You're saying that, where are you? No, here. I was that guy, and I was that guy for more than 15 years. It was so crazy for me when I learned about meditation and all. I was thinking, man, what is this? Closing your eyes and sitting, or what? Are you crazy or what? I used to think like that. And it was so difficult for me to move from there to here. Again, as you're saying, you're in the journey, it looks like I'm also in the journey of getting into that calmness and then zen. But if somebody is kind of, I used to be a very highly logical guy before even I started about the meditation. What do you kind of suggest or give the guidance if somebody wants to start meditation because they know, they came to awareness that they're kind of disturbed most of the time. They want to start the meditation, but the mind is pulling them out of the game. So what kind of suggestion you have for them to at least, get through the journey?
Well, first accept that there's nothing wrong with you. It's just a physiological and biological response. And perhaps start with a more physical type of meditation. Go for a walk and just be aware of your feet on the ground and count number. Keep your mind busy. If you've got a very logical mind, it wants to concentrate on something, and it wants you to tell it what to do. And then it will feel safe. So think of it as always a chaotic inner child. So what does that child need to feel safe right now? And that's the narrative you're having with yourself. with that understanding, it's just do something and praise yourself for that something that you did and let it get familiar. I love the Indian mantras because I'm English, so I do not understand a word of it. And so I don't have a dialogue that's arguing with it. So I can be chanting something in Indian and I'm not having an argument with what I'm saying. And when I read it, it can be the most beautiful, loving, divine translation. And it's like, great, I just wired that in, even though I didn't really know what it meant. But I'm keeping my mind busy, and mantra is ancient. It's ancient, it's thousands and thousands of years. So we're tuning into a frequency of people that have done it for thousands of years with a much higher evolved consciousness than I have. So I'm allowing myself to tune into that. And part of mantra, you can say it in your head, it's reprogramming your brain and your mind. So it's already calming your nervous system. It's keeping your mind busy. And it has a tone, it has a sound as well within it. And then if you speak it, we have 84 meridian points on the roof of our mouth, which now blows that the power of the words we use, the speed that we speak at, the rhythm, it's all activating in our bodies and our brains, and so you're always rewiring, you're always repatterning. So find a way that works for you. If it's jumping up and down, just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you did something different, and that could be your form of meditation because you're really active and you've got loads of energy in your body. Somebody like that who sits down and be quiet might say, I've got loads of anxiety. It's energy moving through your body that you don't know how to understand yet. So let it, like move it around, feel it, cultivate a relationship with it. Everything is really cultivating a relationship with ourselves, the energy that moves through our body and our nervous systems. So
this is
kind of like give yourself a break. You tried, you did it, yay! And find your way. Like we all want to be the same. There's that kind of dichotomy between feeling different makes us feel like we're going to die because I don't fit in the tribe if I'm different. And yet we all have a need to be different and unique and express ourselves, and finding that balance between the two, and environments where it's safe to be different. Kind of like we're all the same as our thumbprints. And we've all got thumbs and hands, and yet our thumbprints are unique. So it's understanding the beauty in that.
So I understood. I think this is really very, very important point you made here, Sarah. Number one, get into the physical meditation before, if at all, if you're not able to, sinking into the real meditation, closing your eyes. Either it can be a nature walk, or can be even kind of calming thoughts can happen with as simple as counting numbers, or probably even doing mantras. And you know, like Sadhguru says, there is no meaning for mantras, whether it is for Indian or for anybody else. They have a very secret formula to it.
They do, so trust, yeah.
Once you start chanting, it activates certain points within the body, but it has no whatsoever meaning, it seems, like Sadhguru says. So, you know, one of these three options where people can actually start with the meditation, right? And if at all, if there is something very exciting that they can do, even if it is like jumping, yes, they can definitely do it. So I think this is a very important point to start for people, because many of the people, as they approach me, they just don't know where to start. But this is a very, very important way to actually even get started.
And it's not so much, or this was my experience anyway, it's not so much where you start or what you do, it's honouring that commitment to yourself. Because at one point I was listening to a guided meditation online by Thich Nhat Hanh, and I realised that even on the days where I sat there and my mind was just loud and noisy, I still had a different day than if I didn't sit and listen to that meditation. And the way I discerned that was I was learning to trust myself and be my own words. And just by sitting there and pressing play and lighting the incense, even if I wasn't in a meditative state at all, I had still honoured that commitment to myself to give it a go. And there's some days it was completely mind-blowing. I had a moment where I felt like I was the eye of the storm, and I could see all the chaos in my life around me like a hurricane, and I just was quietly sat in the middle of it. And those moments are priceless then, aren't they? But I wouldn't have had that experience if I hadn't just shown up every day and listened to the raging mind. And just allowing, isn't that what we're looking for? To that acceptance, to be who we are, wherever we're at that day or in that moment. And when we first give that to ourselves, like, okay, Zen's not coming today. But I'm still here for myself, and I'm going to let that be okay, because hey, I've got this afternoon, or I've got later, or moment to moment. Like I said, it builds the quality of our life, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. This is simply amazing, Sarah. I mean, be the eye of the storm where you can see everything that's happening around instead of getting lost into it. This is simply an amazing way to put up. And I can only say that, thank you so much for being part of this amazing session with me. And for you audience, I want to say, if you're not yet subscribed, make sure to hit the subscribe button and also share with every single person out there where it can make an impact in their lives. Any last message, Sarah?
Yes. Believe in yourself every day. Just believe in who you are, and the joy is in the journey, and the humor is in just accepting that we're human and we're fallible, and a diamond isn't perfect. It has a flaw in it. So accept the imperfections and the flaws in yourself first, and then it's so much easier to accept it in the world around us. So, and love as sweetly and kindly and warmly as possible.
Amazing. Believe in yourself, be kind to yourself, accept that you're fallible, and enjoy the life.
Yeah.
Otherwise there is no purpose of doing all that. Enjoy the life. This is a limited platform where we might go off anytime, just like Sarah said. So and I say thank you so much from me and Sarah, and I'll see you next week with another amazing guest on this show. But till then, me and Sarah says thank you very much, and bye bye.
Bye bye.